Hey, before we start with the main video, I would like to thank you the following companies for their support. They support me through the YouTube membership program that I created for companies who care about software testing and are active in supporting the testing community. Thank you once again. If you want to learn more about the supporters, check the video description down below to find the links to their products. If you miss your logo on this page, follow the QR code or send me an email. Happy testing, and now back to the main video. Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Software Testing. It's me, Daniel. Happy that you're here as always. Today I'm really glad to have another person with me. You have read it already in the title. Today I have the pleasure to interview Coty Rosenblath, CTO of Katalon, to talk about all things about AI. What is his perspective on the future of software testing, and what is his personal advice for the people who would like to get into software testing. Enjoy the interview. Hey Coty, it's great to have you on my show today. We already had a brief introduction before we started the interview, but maybe there are people out there who don't know you, what you're doing, what have you done before, like how about you introduce yourself to my community?
Sure. Hey, I'm Cody Rosenblath. I'm the CTO at Katalon. And at Katalon, I lead both our engineering and our operations team. So the people who are building Katalon products and then, operating those for our users. Hopefully people are familiar with Katalon. We're a test automation company. We started uh, let's see, about 7 years ago now, with our Catalan Studio
Hmm.
product, which is really our flagship. We've since expanded with our Test Ops, Test Cloud, and now our True Test products.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've worked in the software industry for a long time now. I think probably closing in on 30 years. I've worked in banking,
Wow.
insurance, healthcare, uh, all the way to augmented reality. So I've covered a lot of
Hmm.
ground, and I just really enjoy the space. And
Nice.
we've had a good time at Catalan working with our customers to help people build more quality software.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the introduction. Talk, not only the testing industry is right now disrupted by AI and other technologies. But when I talk to software testing people from the community, I always have the feeling like, okay, what's next, and how to deal with like system growing in more complexity and stuff like that. So, from your point of view, like with the software systems growing more complex these days, what do you see as the most pressing challenges for software testers or for the software testing industry or for you as a software testing tool provider?
Yeah, I think everybody in a time like today when there's so much changing so quickly, it's easy to get overwhelmed.
Hmm.
But I think the challenges, in some ways, haven't changed radically. I think we continue to wrestle with uh, complexity and the delivery of software and more software, right? Um,
Yeah.
I think I'm sure you're hearing, I think there's constant concern now, like, you know, will any more of us be writing software? Will any more of us be testing software? And I may be wrong. I don't think I will be. I hope I'm not. I think that we're going to keep writing software.
Hmm.
I think that we're getting AI tools to help us write software. I think we're going to
Hmm.
keep testing software. We're going to
Hmm.
think we're going to get AI tools to help us test software. So the challenge that I see and that I see in our customers is, okay, we've got all these new tools, um, but we still have the testing bottleneck
Hmm.
that has been there since time immemorial. And
Hmm.
if there's going to if it's going to be easier to write more software, how do I make it easier to test that software, or at
Hmm.
least manageable to test that software? And
Yeah.
that's where we're hopefully stepping in to take the same tools that sort of the core engineering teams are getting to help them, and giving that to testers too,
Hmm.
so that they can do more effectively. At the same time, uh, I think there are some non-AI ways that we are working to also alleviate that bottleneck, right?
Mhm.
Helping people with our test cloud product, get access to more test execution, parallel execution, execution across lots of different devices. Because I think the other thing that isn't changing, right, is we want to shift testing to the left as far as we can.
Yeah,
But the
absolutely.
reality is there's some things you just can't test until the whole system is done. And in fact, there are some things that you may not even catch until the system is out
Hmm.
in production. So you may need to be validating that too. And because of that, there's a lot of pressure that gets put on the testing team, right? It's the thing standing between the value that's been created and unleashing that value to the customer.
Hmm.
And it may not be fair, but it's where the testing team sits. So,
Yeah.
um, we're trying to deliver things that in our test ops product that help people write better tests from the start and get started writing tests
Hmm.
as early in the cycle as possible so that they can start developing some of their tests and even test automation far on the left.
Hmm.
But we're also starting to look over on the far right in deployment with our true test
Hmm.
product at actually recording what's happening in production so that you're aware of things that people may be doing and tests you may need to be executing, even though they're not in the requirements, right? Sometimes people do
Weird
weird
stuff.
unexpected things.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and so, you know, I just see us as an an ally to the tester that's trying to
Hmm.
get them the tools to manage that
Hmm.
pressure that they're always under.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know. That was a
Nice.
lot of talking on my part.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking, but sorry, I'm with you. I mean, that's always like the hassle that we have, and also that we've seen in the communities, like shifting left towards the things, and also like involving the whole team in the quality approach. But in the end, developers are there for writing the code, right? Of course, they have to do their testing activities, they will do their unit testing, some code reviews, and whatnot. But at the same time, testers are in charge for so many things along the software development lifecycle. So this is always like as you said, like the bottleneck, even though it's like, I think it's a term in the community that's not perceived that well to see testing as a bottleneck. But I have seen many companies myself, and I mean, in most cases, it's seen that way basically, right? And you mentioned TrueTest. I think I have done a video already or like a demo about TrueTest already on the channel, and it was pretty amazing to see like what TrueTest already can do, as you just said before, like the what people or like what customers really do with your product. You can
Yep.
test hours and hours, but people use your product in a complete different way. And with that tool, for example, you get this kind of insights, and that's pretty amazing to see. And now looking at like all the AI hype like in the community since 2 years, I mean, and there were some companies before working on AI tech already. Like, how are you using AI to reshape software development and software testing in all the different aspects that you mentioned? So, are you really shifting your focus right now towards all the things AI, or what is your strategy there? I would love to hear about it.
Yeah. We are really trying to apply, and I mean, this is going to sound trite, and I don't think we don't have any, secrets. Um, but we are trying to apply AI,
Yeah.
um, sort of across the board in our product
Hmm.
in a lot of different ways. And a lot of them seem arguably very mundane.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for example, um, we have a feature in our test ops product where
Hmm.
we can connect to your ALM, to Jira or the like, and look at requirements, and then use use AI to help you write good test cases
Hmm.
for requirements. Because I think sometimes there's the naive idea that, right, well, the requirements just, I mean, the test case just falls out of that. I mean, once you've seen the requirements and boom, you're done. But in reality, you've got to sort of elicit from those requirements, well, what are the ways that, that this will work and
Hmm.
it's expected to work? And what are the ways that it's expected to fail, right?
Yeah.
That we expect it to, stop unexpected behaviors, to respond to unexpected behaviors. And we have found that modern AI, large language models, can really help in that process
Yeah.
to sort of brainstorm. Now, we believe in a lot of these cases, a person needs to still be in the loop
Mm-hmm.
to look at and collaborate with the AI and say, okay, yeah, I do need to cover all those cases, but uh, scratch that one. And what about this? Add this. So elaborate on that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then we've also got in our True Test product a lot of AI that, again, it may not seem uh, that fancy, but it's there to take the tests that we generate from observing what customers are doing on your website. If you imagine like you were just watching people click and fill forms on a
Mm-hmm.
website, which is what True Test is doing, you might have a hard time figuring out, well, what are they really doing? What is their intent, and what should I call this?
Yeah.
So we use these language models to take a look at what we've recorded and help us decide how would a human interpret that, and
Mm-hmm.
what use case are they trying to complete, so
Mm-hmm.
that then the test cases that we generate and the automation that we generate looks like something that you can comprehend. Because sorry, but I was talking to a
All good.
customer today about this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to generate code that looks like code that a computer can interpret.
Mm-hmm.
It has maybe nothing but numbers and arcane
Mm-hmm.
variable names. That's not really helpful to a tester when they need to look at the test that's been generated and say, does this do what I believe this
Mm-hmm.
automation needs to do, right? Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a trite observation, but people always say, code is really first for humans to read and then secondarily for computers to execute. And that's true whether the code is production code or test code, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're producing automation, you need to be able to ensure that it's doing what you expected it to do, because again,
Exactly.
uh, it's ultimately, no, this isn't right, right? It's the whole team's responsibility to deliver quality software,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important for the quality engineering team, for the quality team, to play a part in that and really understand,
Absolutely.
what the final criteria are, right?
Yeah.
Because like we said, over on the left side, and developers are writing unit tests and making sure that all these detailed functions are working perfectly. But when that all comes together,
Mm-hmm.
someone's got to be there to say, does this all work?
Yeah.
And we're trying to create automation to help you do that, you know, as automatically as possible. But ultimately, we want to make sure that a human who's responsible can take a look at that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I mean, I was just thinking like you mentioned like testing in the loop, or testers have to keep to stay in the loop basically. And I haven't heard the term yet in the community. Maybe we created something together tonight, because if you're familiar with like hardware and embedded testing, it's always like calling hardware in the loop or software in the loop. And maybe it's like we should call it like testers in the loop, to keep the
Yes.
people, to keep the really to people in like all the things that we have to tackle in system complexity, AI technologies, and stuff that's happening on production system monitoring and stuff like that. So there's so many things to do, and I think that looking at AI capabilities that we have right now, I'm really looking forward to all the things that are coming to the market right now, because it really speeds up the things like the tedious work, like you mentioned, creating test cases from requirements. Then we have the problem that they're missing requirements, so we have to talk again to people. So
Yes.
but then if we have like, I mean, instead of documentation and in general like company data that we can use and pump into an LLM, and we can use it to make valid decisions and valid creation of test cases, and then code and automation and whatnot. So that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that thought about being in the loop, because a lot of times when I think sort of further out as like how this all evolves,
Mm-hmm.
I think about like this, and there are lots of images that we use in the industry, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
figure eights and loops. but ultimately is, right? We just keep iterating on this
Hmm.
software, and we iterate across our teams. And I just think about all that we're doing as a way to improve and streamline communication, right?
Hmm.
So that, and I imagine how these language models, because we're all communicating via language, how they can help different roles in the team communicate effectively, right?
Hmm.
For example, um, it may become I think it will become much easier for um, a QA engineer to take a look at an error output and get a deeper insight before they even have to pass it
Exactly.
back to
Yep.
a core engineer, right? To the point which, like, I imagine a future, and it may not even be that distant a future, where they can go ahead and say, "Oh, now that I've now that you've explained to
Hmm.
me, AI, what's happening here, I think I can, describe what needs to be done to fix
Hmm.
this."
Yeah.
And that may loop right back into an AI that writes a quick PR.
Hmm.
An engineer takes a look at that PR and says, "Oh yeah, that does fix that setting. I didn't get that right. Thanks for writing up that really elaborate test report for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let's push that to production." And now you've got, you know, a QA engineer who's actually, contributing to the solution, right? And
Hmm.
to the ultimate, like, redelivery, redeployment of this fix.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think there's, again, back to my original statement, I think we're going to keep developing software. We're going to
Hmm.
develop it in higher and higher level languages and methods. But unless our, respective organizations have completely solved their business, which I
Yeah.
don't think they have,
No.
um, there's going to remain work to do. And I
Yeah.
hope it will become increasingly, exciting and interesting work to
Hmm.
do.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the phrase that you mentioned that now QA engineers like are more closer connected to the core engineering team with the capabilities of AI, especially when QA engineers have more like business domain knowledge and less technical knowledge, so they can really access it much faster and also can play a much like a higher role in the development phase. And with that, like I don't know how you see it or in your company or in industry, looking at all the AI things that's coming right now, and also the example that you mentioned, like where do you see the role of the, let's say, the human tester as evolving, and what skills do you see are becoming more important in these like next few years, so to say?
Yeah. And for sure, a question we hear a lot. And again, like, I don't think I'm going to come up with something tremendously novel, because I think it's going to
Mm,
remain understanding, the value that your business
mhm,
provides, and that the whatever, application software deployment you're delivering, what that value is, and how that is actually realized by a human, right?
mhm,
Because that continues to be part of our thesis, that ultimately these systems for the most part, get used by humans, right? Now we have lots of customers who are also doing loads and loads of API testing, and we think, and we have been, automating more and more of that,
mhm,
because then you're just saying, you can sort of like enumerate all the things that the API should do, and you can test all that. But the real value is usually where it touches a real human, right?
mhm,
So having a human who can decide whether that value is really being produced, I think remains the critical role of the manual QA. Now,
mhm,
I think with all the advances that are happening in automation and in AI specifically, it becomes less and less necessary for that person to spend their time
mhm,
clicking manually or even automatically clicking. Like,
mhm,
we're getting to a place where, you should just be able to sort of describe goals and then let a system, check them. But when things don't turn out right, or something
mhm.
isn't clear to the AI, that's when the human can step in, and it will
Yeah,
have to step in and
yeah,
say, this is what a human experience is like.
mhm,
You're missing that, or
yeah,
here's what should be happening there.
yeah,
And then
exactly.
I think also there's the opportunity. like you said, to start to have an even greater span. So you understand the business, but now you can use AI to understand some of the technology a little bit more deeply
Hmm.
in the moment, and then be a conduit into the person who understands the technology deeply
Hmm.
and maybe not the
Hmm.
business as much,
Yeah.
and tighten that part of the loop.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so
Totally
yeah,
agree. I think it's beneficial for both parts, for the more technical persons who like to get more into the business, or if you like change completely industries. You know, as you said, you were working in banking before, then you work through an like insurance or health insurance company, stuff like that, and it's completely different business and industries. And but you have the technology skills or the tech
yes,
skills, but you miss the business part and vice versa. And that's, I think, it's from my point of view also when I talk on conferences and also to other people, it's like, hey, don't be afraid of AI. Take it as a big opportunity to learn more, learn faster, learn quicker, and also to get more into the business aspects of things because many companies still, yeah, they have the fear of missing their data or sending their data to private or public LLMs,
yes,
even though they don't know what's going to happen. So that's why to judge the output and to really judge the LLM like responses or results, I think for now, at least in the next few years, it's key to success from my point of view. I mean, we don't know where all those agents, and I don't know, thousands of different LLMs are going to and heading towards. I mean, it's like every day in the news there's like, okay, this model is better, this model is faster. Just, I mean, before the interview I was reading an article from OpenAI that just announced another new version of their agent
yep.
system to be more powerful and
I
stuff
was
like
reading the
that. So
same.
this is like crazy. I mean, but where do you see basically like the AI trend to go from your perspective in the next few years? I mean, we have done a generative AI. We're still there. I mean, and still companies they struggle to implement generative AI in their workflows, in their process. And but now like all the big companies that we just talked about or like mentioned are like now working on agents like agentic AI already on the next step of the things. I mean, I have the feeling that tech is becoming even more faster than before. I mean, a couple of years ago, like 10, what is it, 10 years ago, even more, like we had mobile, everybody would like to have a
Yes,
mobile app and stuff like that. So mobile first and what we have heard about it. And it was like a slowly adoption. Still companies have still struggling with mobile application development, stuff like that. Now AI is even much faster. So from your perspective, like you talk to industry people, experts, where do you see like the emerging AI trends going in the next few years?
yeah. One thing, harking back to our
Hmm.
earlier question that I did want to jam in that you made me think about is, I think the other thing that people can be, adding to their skills is deeply understanding
Yeah.
AI and its limitations,
Hmm.
because as it becomes part of our systems, it's going to be part of what we're testing too.
Yeah.
And knowing how it fails, because it fails in weird ways, is going to become really valuable.
Hmm.
And I could go on about that because
Hmm.
I think we're good. We're just learning how to use kind of a new tool or a new material, right, for building software, and it
Hmm.
doesn't behave like the software we've built before. So I
Hmm.
think there's a great opportunity for testers, because what do testers do traditionally? Figure out how things fail, and this is a whole new set of failures.
Hmm.
But to the immediate question of like, where do I see these models evolving, and AI generally evolving? Um, in the, I mean, this isn't even really in the near term. It's something that's happening now. But one thing I'm particularly interested in is multimodal AI and
Hmm.
developments in that domain. So right, we started with text chat and all the image generators, but I mean
Yeah.
that sort of falls outside of our
Yeah.
domain. But we started with text chat. That's why we've got all these chat bots.
Hmm.
Um, but they've all the domain, I mean, all the major frontier models now also accept images and movies and
Hmm.
sound. And I think that that is going to create the emergence of that, and integrating that into our use of AI is going to enable lots of new interactions that I think are going to
Hmm.
be really powerful. And you can see it just in testing, right? We have very specialized visual testing frameworks today.
Hmm.
We're very close to, you've got to have both capability and cost fall in the right way,
Hmm.
but to a place where you can just say, hey, here are two images. Um, tell me how they're different.
Hmm.
Um, tell me what are the, important differences, right? Because one of the things we wrestle with in visual testing is eliminating the things that don't really matter, but really
Mm-hmm.
focusing in. And if we can combine sort of a semantic understanding with an understanding of the visual system, all of a sudden we've got some really powerful capabilities that get us out of having to make a bunch of assertions about the whole thing and be able to sort of have a gestalt of like, does this web page look right? Does this
Mm-hmm.
screen look correct? Does it match all of our design guidelines? I mean, that's really powerful. Um, Obviously, the new reasoning systems are already showing us how we can take what was originally sort of this chain of thought pattern and embed that more directly into the model itself so that you can
Mm-hmm.
get these systems that can reason more about the process, and you can really give a goal and say, okay, here's what I'm trying to do. How would you do that? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
given this screen, how would you perform the
Mm-hmm.
transfer function, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can have the model figure that out. Um, and you were talking about looking at the new OpenAI releases. I was looking back at the Anthropic
Mm-hmm.
computer use,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that they've updated that to work with the new Sonnet 3.7 model
Mm-hmm.
and its thinking process, and that has already dramatically improved the performance of that computer use
Yeah.
mechanism because now
Yeah.
the model can reflect on, oh well, that button click didn't work. What should I do
Mm-hmm.
now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really powerful. In the long term, I and this is highly speculative, and I'm just a dilettante in terms of AI,
That's okay.
but I do think there needs there needs to be something that we, and I don't know when this happens, but I don't think that continually just making LLMs bigger and bigger and having more and
Mm-hmm.
more parameters gets us to where we really want to be, where these systems perform in the ways that humans expect intelligent things to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Because today they break down in ways that we don't expect out of intelligences.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of silly examples in the world, and there's like count the R's in strawberry, or
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, tell me how to get the goat across the river with the boat. Um, and there's lots of reasons why you can say, okay, we know why those things fail. And that's true. But humans expect intelligences to behave like humans.
Yeah.
And so until we get there, there's going to be all these weird failure scenarios. And I think there's going to need to be other types of scaffolding to
Mm-hmm.
put around large language models
Mm-hmm.
so that they're better able to do things like have long-term plans and goal direction that they don't get like right now. Even with some of the reasoning models, they can get lost along the way, so that you can't really create, very long strings of
Mm-hmm.
instructions and expect them to sort of stay on task. Um, so I look forward to seeing what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
That's much more speculative.
Yeah.
But I think we've got enough right now to keep us busy for a long time. I mean,
Yes.
I'm I love to find the ways these models fail, and that's why I talk about the strawberry
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But as they are tremendously powerful, and they give us
Mm-hmm.
capabilities we did not expect to have. We
Yeah.
tried for so long to, you know, figure out, algorithmically how to process language.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned out that just training on tons of data did the trick so that now we
Mm-hmm.
really can process human language
Yeah.
in ways that open up broad vistas of
Absolutely.
opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, I'm also looking really forward to what's coming next. And as you just said, it will keep us busy for a while, and the industry. And I think there will need not too many changes too fast. I mean, it's the research and development phases where, like, build POCs and stuff like that, like small products, MVPs with AI tech. But looking at all, like, the, let's say, legacy products in the market, in the companies, that this might take a while until AI and these kind of things will disrupt those products,
Yeah.
right? And And with that, I mean, I would like to give you one last question to close the interview. It's like, since we talk now with all the stuff that's coming, with like AI trends and stuff like that, like, what advice would you give to someone who's starting right now a software testing career? Because there are a lot of people in universities to start a career in testing, and I think it's a good decision. But what would be your personal advice in getting into
Yeah.
that field?
Yeah. So it kind of goes back probably to what I was saying earlier. I think
Hmm.
you've got to be paying attention to, what's happening in AI. I
Hmm.
think that you don't need to think, do I need to be, an expert in,
Hmm.
uh, you know, every LLM?
Hmm.
Um, do I need to, know about training? Do I need to know about fine tuning? But I think you should take the time to familiarize yourself with how you can use this tool to help you
Hmm.
think, to help you elaborate on ideas. And even I think there is the the term going around right now about vibe coding, right? Which
Uh-huh.
is a little pejorative, but I think it is interesting, even if you're not um, super technical or if you're not a programmer. I think you can experience what it's like to ask an LLM to write some code for you to do something you want, and I think it will teach you something about both language models and coding. And I think as a QA engineer, that sort of gets you into both of the things that you're going to be interacting with in your
Hmm.
career, right?
Hmm.
You're going to be, these models are not going away. It's going to be part of what we
Yeah.
build on top of, just like, relational databases are, just like, underlying hardware are. So in the future, you'll just assume like somewhere in your system, there's an LLM that gets plugged in and you'll be interacting with
Hmm.
it. Um, so get to know that and then use that to learn lots of other things, like learn a little bit about coding, learn something about your domain. I mean, one of the fun things that um, I've done with these systems is I sometimes I'll start a conversation and then sort of prime it with some information about a domain, and then I'll
Hmm.
pass it off to a colleague who wants to know some more about that, and then they can ask questions about it.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to uh, sort of build your expertise by
Hmm.
asking the system some something. So, if you know somebody who knows a lot about a topic, ask them to start that conversation for you and then let
Yeah.
you play on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, building relationships and also networks in the industry is always helpful to keep up with topics. And that was really great. Thanks for the awesome interview and also for the insights on how Katalon and you especially like pushing AI forward to build great products for the testing community. It was really cool to have you. Thanks for coming by today.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Thanks for watching the interview. I hope you really enjoyed it and you have seen Coty's view on the software testing industry. As always, like it, share it, and subscribe it to support me and to grow the channel. In case if you have any questions, leave a comment down below and I bet Coty will answer your question or myself. So see you next time. Bye bye.